A cordial welcome to the second part of our conversation with GOR Rassadin. Dear GOR, I greet you again. Dear viewers, in the second part we would like to continue our discussion about solutions and also give a few more pointers and information about what can be done regarding the information which was given in the first part. Regarding that, right at the beginning, my question to you, GOR. We have talked about hyperspace and information spaces and also about the development of those. What can I imagine about hyperspace? What is it and how can I work with it?
Hyperspace. This is what was formerly described as otherworld. It is something where we are also present all the time in parallel to a 3D world because we are multiple entities. Merely our focus is in the 3D world, in Maya. Maya, I do not refer to it now in the classical Indian sense, downgrading it as an illusion, instead as the world of appearance. In a certain sense, it is an illusion, but each world, each dimension is an illusion and reality at the same time. One can also say it is a perspective of perception. As this 3D reality, or Maya, is the world of perception of incarnated humans, so is what we call hyperspace or prasmata, the world where the self is more present than in this 3D reality. Here the following should also be considered. There is an other world and still an other world behind the other world.
Es gibt Anderswelt und noch eine Anderswelt hinter der Anderswelt. Und diese dritte.
And this third background world distinguishes itself from hyperspace even more than hyperspace from Maya.
Zum Teil größer als Hyperraum von Maya.
So we speak of three worlds now: Aleum, Prasmata and Maya, or matter space, hyperspace and space. What are these about? It is a triad, and unifies the principles of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Thesis is oneness, antithesis is diversification, speaking the explosion of oneness into total diversity. This is hyperspace. And then there is synthesis, a reality which combines the characteristics of both in modified form. It is oneness as well as diversity. And a decision is something like synthesis. It is on the one hand a selection, so to speak, a densification and compression of all possibilities. And nonetheless, this world is also manifold, even though not as manifold as hyperspace. Seeing it this way, we have the oneness reality, which is more like an information space. We have hyperspace, this diversified reality, a world full of possibilities and probabilities. This is a jungle where everything is possible, and there are billions of spaces multiply nested. It is a true frequency jungle. And then we have the reality of densifications, wherein we act as incarnated ones and where our attention is now. This is a world of selection. In hyperspace you have 1000 probabilities and one will be selected. Attention is paid to it, energy is added, and thereby it materializes as a thing, as an event. We then receive the result in the 3D reality, in Maya. In hyperspace you have 1000 variants of it, whereby only one is realized. Just about like that. Hyperspace is the space of shamans. This is the main profession of a shaman. He dives into it, this world of causes, changes something, comes back and sees the change, which occurs automatically because this world, Maya, or our 3D space-time, is the reality of results. And hyperspace is the reality of the causes. One can also call hyperspace the level of programming, just like a website, yeah? You see the surface, and if you do a right-click, you see the source code, the programming level. And on this level you can change the surface. And this is exactly what a programmer or a shaman does. A shaman is a programmer. He goes through this stage, changes something in the source code, and in the world of appearance, the result appears automatically. This is roughly the relationship between these two different realities.
Well, it is like that. We can do this since all are connected with hyperspace, yet it seems that not all have access to hyperspace, or it seems at least are not conscious of that. How can one cultivate this a little?
It is such that access is given. Every time when you close the eyes and you imagine something, this is not 3D reality which occurs there. You are already in hyperspace. If it is not evocative enough, not stable enough, and not with enough energy, there are no results or few barely visible results in the 3D reality. If you make things evocative, stable, sharp, and rich in detail, maintain them, energize them, then they tend to be materialized. In principle, it is a gradual difference. Each one travels through hyperspace, for instance, during the night. When you dream, you are in hyperspace, more as a playball of forces. But if you awake within the dream and you are aware of it when you have a lucid dream, you understand that this is your dream, speaking your individual reality. Hyperspace is an individual reality, or the nesting of all individual realities. Here you can already steer. You can also enter differently. You can also do astral travel and, so to speak, leave your physical body. This is an intensive condition and an entirely different access. Thereby, entirely different possibilities develop. You can catapult there with drugs, something shamans do quite often, no matter which drugs you use. At this point, warning, very quickly you may become dependent. My recommendation is the direct access to hyperspace as a conscious act. And this happens due to intention. Also, if you go into hyperspace, you should not do it as a tourist, saying, "Yes, sure, let me look around and see what flies around in the jungle here." Yeah? Instead, you have a goal, and the goal takes you there. And the way there you receive in images. Information comes in images, which appear in the third eye. You quasi make a journey, and it is individual. It is a language of symbols for you, and this allows conclusions. Therefore, you pursue a goal, and the goal guides you. You go there as the self and the person, and in the ideal case, you also involve your helpers, because each one has a helper team in hyperspace, speaking entities which do not act in this reality. In part, it is what we call angels, info-energetic entities, but also human beings who are not incarnated right now, but are very strongly connected with us in the whole topic of incarnation and support us. And since these are multiple entities, they are not your private property. It is not your very own team. These are no slaves, but they support different entities multidimensionally. If you call your men, they help you. These are roughly the rules, the behavior rules in hyperspace.
So in etwa grob die Regeln, Verhaltensregeln im Hyperraum.
It would be, in order to translate it a little differently, what other people call visualization. Having a clear mind in the head, pursue a clear intention, and in principle I'm ready to make changes. The clearer the intention, the more stable the image, the more will be the effect in reality.
You said it.
One can summarize it like that.
Yeah, this is the foundation of manifestation, one way of working in hyperspace. Thereby you can also manifest, exactly like that. Information is the first stage. This is visualization. An image is a container of information. If it is rich in energy, is enriched with your energy and the energy of others, which you let flow into the image, into the construct, it begins to vibrate. You can thereby bring it to manifestation, creating an event in 3D, just based on this work in hyperspace.
Allein durch diese Hyperraumarbeit.
What do you primarily recommend regarding the actual state and time? What can we do together? You talked about a common vision. What does it look like, or what could it look like?
Zum einen
First of all, it is good if we understand that this civilization does not need to be saved. That we understand repairing the engine of the Titanic doesn't make much sense. We simply need to disregard this, not to miss the essential by doing the non-essential. If we try to save what cannot be saved, we only waste our energy and time. For me, the first thing is a clear separation of what is sensible and what is senseless. And the consideration, we are all creators, we can avert everything, etc. We can change it at any time. We are creators, and as selves, we have already created what comes tomorrow. We have just not experienced it yet as a person. We have created it. We have some wiggle room and we can optimize the game. And this is also important work so that the tower does not fall over. Instead, collapses like a controlled demolition and does not kill anyone left or right. This is the wiggle room. But that everything collapses is already a foregone conclusion. We have participated in the decision and have co-created the collapse as creative entities. Because this civilization is a war against the planet. It has no chance of survival. It has fully exhausted its potential. It must go, and tomorrow it will be gone. Therefore, it is about to look what is at all sensible right now. And if the chaff has separated from the wheat, we say, okay, this is sensible, this makes sense, and this, and we already have clear goals. For example, the Earth reduces all fields in magnitude, each time, with every jump. It is a living conscious entity with very high consciousness. It is a huge fable in this line of thought that everything is dead, and planets are dead, and rocks are dead for them. They think that consciousness is a product of organic life. Though organic life is a product of consciousness, one of the products of it, and also non-organic systems have consciousness, even high consciousness. And Gaia, she has a very high consciousness. She has the agreement with us that she will be quiet for a while so that we can build our civilization, and when time runs out, we dismantle the civilization. She then moves again, she reforms herself, and these events are part of that. She collapses her fields, so to speak, dies for a moment, and reawakens, rebirths herself. This is a dramatic process for that entity. Just like mankind will rebirth itself. This is what we now need to do the most and will. To play a midwife for the new Earth and for the new humanity. There is much to hold, much to optimize. Danger sources need to be eliminated, not letting negative events come to realization. Also, if they are very close to be realized, it does not mean that they will. Even if the probability is like 90%, we can reduce it just due to our presence, and thereby not let the critical mass cross, and thereby something does not occur. These are the best wars, the ones which did not take place. Nobody knows about them because they never happened. Such things are possible, and doable, and necessary.
Immediately, the next question comes up for me. Where does the journey go? And in order to clarify it some more, can we again take a little detour into the past? Can you explain again what the 5 H's, as you call them, what the different qualities are? I think this will contribute fundamentally in understanding what is ahead of us.
Yeah. Yes, it contributes to the understanding that human beings possess entirely different characteristics with different abilities in different epochs. And this is due to the individual reality conditions. Roughly, the scheme is like the following. There are the 3 building substances of creation, information, energy and matter, interacting with each other in different combinations. They can be coupled more intimately or can be distanced. And thereby, the result is 5 different possible constellations, 1 unity and then 3 separated conditions, and 1 totally separated condition. Speaking 5 conditions which result in 5 epochs. And both mankind and the planet participate in it. We utilize these reality conditions in order to develop other abilities in us, to unfold, and each time the planet reconfigures. And the first, unified condition, is not a full union, but these principles are very close to each other. With human beings, it is exactly like that. Spirit, soul, and subtle body are one unity, a trinity unified. They are not widely separated. Human beings are a linked divine entity, and the reality condition is entirely different from what we know, because at this moment we are on the other side of the scale, in the fully separated condition. Therefore, it is very difficult for us to imagine that there is a reality where a thought immediately brings forth a manifestation, and that this is even one process. Thinking is creating because thinking equals feeling, and feeling equals manifesting. Human beings who are that divine, who tick like that, this fact is very, very far in the past, but also very, very close in the future. This is exactly what comes on the next turn of the spiral, what comes now. A joint reality. Therefore, the jump will be gigantic. But let us go back. The first age is called Mu, and of it we have almost no memory, no collective memory, because it does not fit into any of today's categories. After that comes the jump, each time characterized with a reconfiguration of reality, of the planet and also of human beings. Most human beings leave their physical body and end their physical existence. Then these cataclysms follow, the phases of upheavals, and then they incarnate again in the new epoch as soon as the new reality has stabilized. The second phase we call Lemuria. This is where the reality is strongly energetic material and information is separated. It experiences itself, so to speak. Human beings are less spiritual, much more like a magical animal, all-knowing but more animalistic, more direct, natural and connected. Have you seen the movie Avatar? Yes, how these human beings live on that planet is a good image for it. They are totally connected to nature, powerful as well, but they are no thinkers, no philosophers, no inventors. They do not need all of that because they are totally immersed in nature and are one with all entities. Approximately like that has been the Lemurian human being. More like a Neanderthal type, physically a different type of human being. This is not as far back as today's dating would determine, but it is relatively far back, about 20,000 years ago. Then the next cut. Reality becomes informative material, speaking the energetic side, the soul side of human beings is separated. Human beings are entirely different again during that time. They are brilliant inventors and intelligent makers, yes? This is Atlantis time. We had built a civilization which, in comparison to today's civilization, is much, much more advanced. The technologies which we developed then simply dwarf all these hunkers which we drive today. And we have also exaggerated beyond all measures since we had no empathy. We have almost destroyed the planet. Everything was relatively soulless. Remnants of this technology are the pyramids, which are square in its base, and the Sphinx is also an artifact. We have some artifacts from that time.
Sphinx, also ein paar Sachen auch, ein paar Artefakten haben wir aus der Zeit. Ja.
Atlantis ends with the flood catastrophe, the deluge. Yes, it did not take place between the 4th and the 5th age. No, it was before. It was one of the many events, but there will also, as always, geological aspects. The fourth reality was informative energetic, with matter separated. Transferred to human beings, he no longer recognizes himself as physical. He was more spirit and soul, intellectual, psychic in character. We remember it as a time like in paradise, as the time of Eden. During that time we did not create any artifacts, no civilization in a sense which we have today. It was like a big dream, because the oneness of spirit and soul existed, and therefore the sensation of it is a very harmonious condition, but the least real.
Like a lived dream, yeah?
Yes, a lived dream, exactly. And then comes the belly landing, yes? The reality is suddenly the fully separated condition. This is like an explosion, a rude awakening. This is 5,500 years ago, and now you must suddenly, really work for survival. Suddenly material. The reality is suddenly tough, and all creation processes take time, much work. And human beings have a really hard time with this reality condition and with oneself. He is pretty much stuck. And here come all the demons, our gods from 2 days ago, and enslave human beings. In principle, this was a takeover of rulership, because human beings were in such shock. And here not only religions developed, instead states and a alliance of kings were created, and we also had sexual intercourse with the gods. The boundary between space and hyperspace was situated somewhere else. Therefore, the gods were able to manifest relatively stable within what we call Maya, the 3D space. They really had physical contact with human being, and this is even written in the book, in the Bible.
Yes, exactly like you say. Fragments are available from all epochs, or from almost all epochs, from some no longer. I also ask myself the question, did human beings also change entirely in physical form, since there are artifacts of huge humans which simply cannot be compared to today's height?
Yeah, 10 meters.
Yes, it seems, because there are pointers and remnants.
Yeah, they do exist. There were different models. These giants were mixtures. It was not a human model, it was an attempt to install a mixture, half human, half god. Did not work well. This was a special model. We also had other temporal models. We had lifespans of several hundred years, up to 5, 6, 7, up to 900 years. But it did not turn out to be a success because it was way too long. It is lost time. Yeah, it was a repetition of a repetition of a repetition. Nothing much happens. All these things have been rejected, and now we have arrived at an age of 70 to 80 years, and the height has been reduced. So we continue with that. And now the fifth age is at the end, not because we must destroy this civilization, not because it is evil, instead because the times simply change.
They are the result of a cosmic rhythm, as you say. The Mayas have also said it, which is reflected in a similar manner in their 26,000-year calendar. You can also read the cycle from the movement of the planets in space. Therefore, there are contexts again and again which make it understandable. And in the meantime, quantum physicists have also obviously discovered several realities and dimensions in parallel, independent of the individual epochs which you talked about. Did manipulations as we know them today also exist in earlier times, similar in nature?
Varying. In Atlantis there were huge manipulations too, and in the time of Mu rarely, because human beings could not be manipulated. In the next years we will also slide into a non-manipulative condition, or catapult us there. The connectedness of self and person, and living it, also means having access to the meta resources. You have enormous energy resources, a huge information resource. You are then not dependent on some demon which you beg. All religions are gigantic energy sinks. Each time you say, I make myself unpopular again, "Dear Archangel Michael, please do this or that for me," what happens on the energetic level? You disempower yourself due to a belief pattern, believing that you cannot do something on your own, but an external entity can do it for you. You transfer your power and a great energy portion to another entity. And this is what has been happening in the last 1,000 years. We have supplied, and supplied. We remained small and they got big. These powerful entities hovering over us, they have been inflated by us.
Diese mächtigen Wesenheiten, die über uns schweben, die sind von uns aufgeblasen worden.
In the end, how do we deal with this situation? If I'm conscious of this, on the one hand I can receive help. Let us remain with hyperspace and the use of it, because it is very important today. You talked about helper troops. How can I call my troops? And the manipulation from outside remains. There seems to be a real battle in hyperspace.
Yes, it is an endless battle. An eternal battle rages on this planet, which most human beings are not even aware of, because it occurs mostly behind the scenes. And what earlier was still carried out on the stage, most human beings dismiss it as a myth, and myths are fables. This is written in black and white, and we just do not want to believe it. Yes, there is a constant battle because this planet is so beautiful, because human beings have such a gigantic energy resource, and there are many entities, races, species and groups which want this resource, this territory. We assume blue-eyed that all act on our behalf, that they are cosmic brothers, that they have no interest, they just want to help us. All angels want to help us. And all that is above is good and all that is below is evil. This is a very simple and wrong picture.
Let us stay with this discourse, because many who pursue the spiritual path believe we remain in pure love, all is good and there is no evil, or believe in the approach of non-violence, which we hear constantly from that direction. You subscribe to an entirely different picture. I just mentioned the word victory. If I fight, I want to be victorious. Peace comes due to being victorious. Maybe we can concretize this some more, because according to my opinion, it is an important aspect and there's a lot of power in recognizing it. Here I namely bring together the good as well as the dark.
I have noticed that the following picture makes it very evocative for us and gets us away from any moral judgment. The tree. If it stops growing below, stretching its roots into the darkness of the underworld, it will acutely be in danger. The next storm will uproot the tree and it will be pulled over. Even if the storm does not uproot the tree, it is still valid. If this connection or the growth below ceases, the tree also stops growing up. And it is this spiritual habit, neutrally expressed, always to grow up. This resource is exhausted. What is most needed for spiritual disciples is to grow down, to understand the lower principles, the lower levels of existence. It does not mean that these entities, which may be of a lower vibration, are also evil. It is important to understand and to integrate one's lower principles, to integrate them. And now I do not mean this shadow purely viewed from a psychological standpoint. Instead, I mean real frequency regions which are outside the physical body. These are principles which are at the very bottom. They contain things which we demonize, like aggressiveness, for example. Aggressiveness is evil. But aggressiveness is not evil. It is simply a life force. You can understand this life force as a principle which is similar to an explosion, an energy of relief, liberation. You can interpret it as evil, or you can apply it in evil ways, or you can also suppress it, and it will come forth in an irrelevant situation and perverted form. We like to displace this aggressiveness. We do not live it authentically in the moment, live, in an appropriate manner, yes? Instead, we suppress and suppress, but thereby it does not disappear. At some time you flip out, or you change to auto-aggressiveness and you get ill and you don't know why. Or as a people, you can also displace it and supply the whole world with weapons and you will remain a peaceful country. We in Germany are the third largest weapon supplier in the world. No war without us, or a similar slogan.
Oder als Volk lagerst du das auch aus und belieferst die ganze Welt mit den Waffen und bleib so ein friedliches Völkchen. Ja? Drittgrößter Waffenlieferant in der Welt. Kein Krieg mehr ohne uns oder so ähnlich. Wie war der Slogan? Ja?
Yes, originally it was planned like that at one time. How do you deal with it? Maybe you can give us an example from your own life. How do you combine these principles in your life?
Es ist einfach.
It is simple. We are very much attached to a denial which resonates like the following. Yes, in principle, theoretically, everything is clear. But if I begin to live like that, it will snap the world. I will lose my job, I will then land under the bridges, I will die, and so forth. An entirely evil scenario. This is not acceptable for the world, and so on. On the one hand, morally it is to be interpreted another way. Suppose we begin to describe the whole games of politeness, where I bend and lie, no longer as politeness, instead as true lies. Then it helps enormously to overcome this game. Instead of being merely polite and assert that I must go because your talk repulses me, I can also say, you know, you have dumped your garbage on me, I no longer have an interest in this conversation. I do not have to say this truth out loud. I can also choose an optimum and just say, I go now. I must go is a lie. We interpret this as politeness, and if we remain with the truth and admit that I have lied, then we can get out of this mess. It is just like, let me tell a short story about aggressiveness. That's best. There was, or there is, a Buddhist, Jack Cornwell, I believe is his name. I have read a lot of his writings, and it is a wonderful story. I tell the story directly to the viewers. A Western guy, American or British, comes to a master somewhere in Asia. He gets an audience and walks with this master, with this enlightened human being in the park. He has a half an hour time to talk. And this Jack, a huge man, tells the master of his problems and his searches and his difficulties in life and so on. And when he really gets going, this small, sacred, half-transparent, gray-haired man turns around and hits him hard in the face, a slap in the face. And Jack continues to write, and I stand there with a complete blackout, cognitive dissonance raised to the power of 10. How can this sacred man simply hit me in the face? In this moment, the enlightened one says, who has allowed you to trample with your dirty feet in someone else's head? And this event changed Jack's life entirely. This is the power of truth. Was it aggressiveness? Yes, it has been aggressive and pure healing.
Great excursion, exactly. One should simply do this more often in order to guarantee that one finds such things again and again for oneself, and be aware that a lived, healthy aggression is really essential. Also with respect to sexuality, much is being hidden, subverted due to politics, and one tries to erase sexuality by means of gender politics. Entirely in accordance with it, we all become females, and the male and female gender no longer exists. Here the madness of all is one is clearly reflected.
Yes, I'm completely conforming to it. I'm lesbian and I stick to my principles.
Simply great. Dear GOR, how can we refine this path, so to speak, a little more? We can decide to live according to these principles, and we can acknowledge them. You also said we can do much in hyperspace. Where do you see the approach and the need? At what point do you think human beings need to hear more? Do you have any advice or whatever? How do you manage it? Because one cannot just simply say, then and then is the end. For you, this is possible because you understand the principles, but we have already discussed a few things where additional support may be needed. What else is there in order to qualitatively support the turning point?
In the moment, it is important that we cease being lone wolves. For so long we were under the illusion, I am alone in this world and the world does not understand me and I must either yield or land under the bridge, yeah? And I have to work in this perverted system and such. In truth, we are many. Many does not mean millions and millions. The critical mass is small, the square root of 1% of the population, and it is enough. For this jump, thousands is enough. It is much more about the quality of consciousness. It is good if we give up the illusion that millions and millions will stand up and must understand in order that something may occur. This process will not happen. Definitely not. It suffices if the few, and these are enough, simply develop more deeply and become more mature, develop courage and stop to hold on to what cannot be done. This time of the lone wolves is over. We stand up, we recognize each other very quickly. And this is what accelerates enormously right now. Human beings stand up and click. We no longer need years for that. One sees, okay, this is a relative. We have agreed that we will get up a second before 12 and turn the game around. The principle of surprise, shortly before. And exactly that occurs now. They get up, recognize each other suddenly and form groups. This is what I encourage our people, our family, the true family and great family, to do, to build groups quickly. It must be an aligned group. People, I'm again evil now and make myself unpopular, human beings who want to continue singing Om and every Monday at 9 start a peace meditation. They do not belong to this alignment. Human beings belong to this alignment who say, we will turn the lever. We take over the government now, yeah? We stop playing opposition. We stop dreaming and become effective now.
Opposition zu spielen. Wir hören auf zu träumen. Wir werden jetzt wirksam.
As I said, some of these groups may contain foreign subjects, human beings who drag the group down. One who likes to dream of light and love. Nothing against light and love. They are beautiful, but you know what I mean. There is a very strong movement, especially in the light and love section, that thinks there is nothing more to do because I'm such a hypocrite. Human beings who have this alignment are not suitable for this job. These groups consist of human beings who say, we stand up, we roll up our sleeves, we turn the lever and we take over the thing now. This attitude.
Wir übernehmen jetzt gerade, ja? Diese Haltung.
If there are 3, there are 3. If there are 5, it is better. Maybe there are 10. Then we already have a happy group. We build these groups and exchange technologies. We now have a wonderful system in hand which deciphers creation. This is a system which deciphers creation and the creator. The Meral, yes? These 21 principles which appear as vibration as well. What does that give us? If you take on your whole frequency range again, in that moment, creation recognizes you as the creator, because you are not a fragment, instead you are a whole. Thereby the identity proof is given. Once you have pursued this consciousness expansion up and down, and you combine all these 21 principles in you, activate them and begin to utilize them, then creation says, ah, okay, this is a creator, and this is a creator, and this is the creator. It listens to you, because you are their friend, because you are of the same blood. It is important that groups come together which structures consciousness and quickly expands, which is nothing else than the recall of the original, final and future divinity, which we now put on the scale. These groups come together. In the ideal case, they build merals, these power and programming places, whereby we can perform an effective reality steering. And this is accelerating rapidly. We get dozens of inquiries, and human beings say, we want, we want, we want. Why? Why did this not happen 5 years ago? Because the time is now ripe for it. Because it is now a second before 12, because we turn the game around in the last moment.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that only now you have given a TV interview. This is exactly the point. Time quality allows it now. If you remember, 10 years ago, one could talk about the same issues, and out of 10 people you received 11 rejections. Simply nobody wanted to hear it. I also think that many people are already here in these areas. It would be nice if a fraction of them would spend more time with the tree analogy, going down to the roots, because I think that many awakened people are already here, yet they have not yet internalized the basic principles. This is where we would also like to make a contribution. Let us stay again with the keyword meral. They also help, and we have already built some. And are there also many human beings who build these on their own?
They do not do this alone. We will help because some technology transfer is necessary. Each time it deals with a different geometry because the groups are different, and from place to place a different assignment is coupled with it. This results in the actual geometry and some refinements. If the groups quickly mount the saddle, then ready and effective troops may develop very quickly. And when this network grows around the planet, which it does, then it occurs exactly. We are holding the reality. It will not be a tragic fall to the side, instead a controlled demolition. What no longer has a reason to live, everything that is disused will disappear, and we are here in order to ensure that it does not kill people left and right.
Was ausgedient hat, wird verschwinden. Und wir sind dazu da, zu schauen, dass das Leute rechts und links nicht erschlägt.
With this technology based on the 21 principles, we also have the possibility to optimally bring back into balance missing levels or levels which are too much or too little pronounced. Did I understand this correctly?
So it is. This is the central issue which is relevant for us, that we reach an optimum, just as you said, because each one of us has some imbalances which are caused due to incarnation cycles, life circumstances, in the here and now, and it is such that always some principle is lacking or is over-present. What occurs in the Meral is this discharge and charge. What is too little will be charged, what is too much will be discharged. You receive something like a straightening of back and spine, yes? All principles are simultaneous and equivalent. In creation and in the creator, all has a place. There is nothing that needs to be eliminated. Once an optimum has been established, human beings are whole and divine. Human beings do not need to become better, not more angel-like. He must simply become whole.
Es muss einfach nur ganz werden.
And in an optimal manner also speak the right language. And simply, as you already said, if I unify all principles within me, I will be recognized as a creator. This is the same, then I speak with another language and thereby I can naturally do much. Language is also vibration and I also create with it and so on. In its truest sense the circle closes again. How long do you actually do this? When did you build the first stone circle?
That is 5 years ago. The first one was in East Tyrol, near the Italian border, in a very beautiful area. A very powerful Meral developed there, and it has already produced true miracles.
Tell us one or two examples. Some exciting things happened there.
Yes. Well, it would really go beyond the scope of this transmission. I would like to say that nature and the entities, which are still not directly visible, very strongly react to our work. It becomes obvious that everything is genuine and that it has cosmic components when angels appear in the sky and suddenly cloud formations of an entirely special procession form, or when lightning is thousandfold parallel to the surface of the earth. There are gigantic discharges and threefold and fourfold rainbows develop, and especially each time when a successful hyperspace and also metaspace work occurs. All of nature reacts. And sometimes you can also read about it in the newspapers after this work, confirming that it works. It is functional. The system is functional. And it is also such that human beings with a manipulative consciousness cannot at all use these technologies because it does not work for manipulation. It works optimizing. And manipulation is the opposite of optimizing. Optimizing is always a de-manipulation. Therefore, they can try as much as they like to copy the technology. It will not be of use for them. The technology is open, and yet manipulators cannot do anything with it. Either they're stupid and they say it is wild esoteric, or it functions poorly or not at all. It does not function with them. With us, it functions wonderfully.
I think thereby we have also clarified the question which I have previously read in the forum, if these merals can also be used for the opposite, also for the withdrawal of energy, and in this manner can positively work for the adversaries. It is not at all possible, because if the manipulator has limited consciousness, he can also not use the meral for his manipulation. Can we summarize it like that?
Manipulators are generally overrated, fundamentally. this great, powerful elites which can do everything and so on. There are no great tyrants. Being a tyrant is small. If this human being were great, he would not be a tyrant. We overrate this totally. The tyrants are not the problem. The greatest enemy of freedom is not the tyrant, it is the satisfied slave. And they run around here in droves.
Also, they obviously have chosen this, seems to be part of their life experience.
Yes, it is so.
If one wants to follow your philosophy, also mentally, then this seems to be the final consequence. At the end, we have made these choices, and then there is also no tragic associated with it.
No, this is not tragic. These human beings can have other experiences later. Now they are attached to this limited condition, and it is an experience which simply needs to be lived here and now. And in the next epoch, they will have entirely different experiences.
Yes, right now I can't think of another question. I think we have discussed much, and again it has been very interesting topic. If you would like, you can direct the one or the other word to the viewers. Do you still have a message which you would like to share?
Yes. Let me think about it. I know. Regarding this future, which makes us afraid, what comes in these cataclysms and catastrophes, the good message is, and this is truth, we have already won. We have talked about the eternal cosmic battle. It has been won. Everything has already occurred. Just imagine this life is like a book, and time is the movement of your sight across the page. This is a phenomenon of perception. For you as a person who experiences this reality, this life, is word after word, one after the other. For the self who you are the self and the person. For you as self, the whole book is simultaneous, is captured at once. All incarnations, no matter if previous or future ones, for the self they occur simultaneously. You as self are a multiple entity. And this time which comes, it has already occurred. We will change a few details here and there. There is wiggle room. We will experience and enjoy and suffer and play, be creative and creatively live it up. A few years later we will say, man, we have written history, what a terrific time. Then it is a terrific time. It has already happened. We have prevailed. The new Earth is already here. We are just 2 or 3 pages back, and tomorrow we will experience this great reality which we have already created. Therefore, we do not need to be afraid at all. We have already prevailed. We have already won. We have already created the new Earth, and it is just ace. It exceeds all imaginations of today. It is so good that we still cannot imagine it at this moment, but tomorrow we are of one blood. This is the message.
A marvelous final word. Many thanks, dear GOR, also for your time. I know you have presently much to do and you also travel a lot. You still make presentations, you also still write on the side, which is also an important work which you perform. And naturally with the Merals, I wish you continued success so that many find each other, and I think we go into the right future. And as you so beautifully said, we should also enjoy it. We are with you and live. Dear viewers, I hope you found this as exciting as I did. I thank you as always for your attention, and at the end I would like to use this opportunity to mention the 2 books. You can view the information directly on the homepage. We will also blend in the internet address, possible seminar dates, and what else may come will be posted. At this time, please be patient because there is a lot of demand. Again, I thank you for your attention, be well disposed towards us, and until next time. Ciao.